with time. Uncorks it. Ashton Hawkins shakes and scores.
This is the Sikkim 365 radio postgame show.
Second and long scenario. Pete drops back. Doesn't have much time. Garmin Randolph makes quick work of him.
Now here's David Smoke.
This is your host, Matt Wilson, with the Sikkim 365 post-game show. Crack a cold Dr. Pepper, Baylor fans. Baylor goes into Morgantown for the first time and gets away with a win, 49-35. In a first half that looked like a Baylor-West Virginia matchup of years past, turned into a second half of defensive playmaking and resolve. And the Bears get it done. That brings your Baylor Bears to 6 wins and a bowl berth for Dave Aranda and his team. Very, very excited to be with you tonight. Very, very fun game to watch as a fan and pretty good football to watch on both sides. We will take some calls. Please call in, leave some comments in the chat. We definitely want to make this as interactive as possible. I certainly do. But welcome. It's been a minute since I've been filling in for Smokey, and the vibes are definitely different. Baylor getting some monkeys off the back, getting consecutive wins in conference at home, and now going to Morgantown to get their first win. Truly a, we'll call it an interesting last couple of weeks. I see the chat starting to populate. Welcome in, everybody. Let's run down the stats here. I laugh because they are stats you might have seen in a trip to Morgantown maybe 10 years ago. Baylor amassing 512 total yards, 329 through the air, 183 on the ground, 26 first downs, 8 for 13 on third down, 7.3 yards a play. But I think most importantly, 0 turnovers, 0 interceptions. That was going to be a massive key to getting a win in Morgantown for Sawyer Robertson and this offense, and they got the job done. Let's run through the first half. Back and forth. West Virginia and Baylor. Touchdown, punt, touchdown. And then 2 touchdowns to end the half. 3 touchdowns to end the half over the last couple minutes there. Very, very exciting first half. The chat is really going off. We love to see it. Again, Baylor with the win, 49-35. Some individual numbers from this one. Let's start with, the signal caller here, Sawyer Robertson. Just absolutely getting the job done today. This was a very, we'll call it troubled West Virginia pass defense, nationally and in conference. Sawyer Robertson takes full advantage. 26 of 36 for 329 yards, 3 touchdowns, 72% completion for a 176.5 rating. It is very difficult to get better than that. I saw maybe only one questionable throw, one low throw, very, very nitpicky things if you wanted to be any kind of negative about Sawyer's performance, but truly a fantastic showing for Sawyer and this passing game. Absolutely. Hat tip to Jake Spavital. Schemed up a ton of yards after completion. If you go and you look at the stats here, the yards, let me find it here. Deep passing, 3 for 4. Medium passing, 5 for 11. But a lot of short passes, 18 for 21. Usually we get, frustrated with that. But it was something like 199 of our passing yards were yards after the catch. Schemed up perfectly, I think, today. I think most of the attention will go to the running game, and that is because of one Bryson Washington. 18 carries for 123 yards, 3 touchdowns on the ground. One of those touchdowns from Sawyer Robertson was through the air to Bryson Washington. 6.8 yards a carry. 18 attempts. For a back that's not the biggest back in the world, tough kid. 18 carries, 123 yards. Don't take anything away from Moose, which the official Baylor football account has now acknowledged. 11 carries for 68 yards and a score where he looked absolutely unstoppable on that last touchdown run. A long of 15, average of 6.2 yards per carry. Just dominant on the ground. When there was any kind of space, it was broken tackle and gone for both guys, truly. Looked absolutely great. West Virginia played well on offense, though. You have to tip the cap there. 499 total yards for West Virginia, 237 through the air, 262 on the ground, and that was evident. Garrett Green himself, 22 rushing attempts for 129 yards and 2 scores. Jaheim White, 16 for 67. C.J. Donaldson, 9 for 60. They were effective. Garrett Green did what Garrett Green was expected to do. Threaten some with his arm, but do most of his damage with his feet. Garrett Green went 19 for 39 passing, 237, 2 scores, and a pick by Corey Gordon Jr., who was very much so and somewhat rightfully maligned after the Colorado Hail Mary mishap. He has grown into the player I think he can be, and he will continue growing. I am very excited about his path. 49% completion for Garrett Green, which leads us into the defensive performance for Baylor. Let's talk a little bit about this defensive performance. I was very impressed. Even though it looked rough at times, that first drive did not set a good tone in fans' minds there. But overall, you give up a bunch of yards, you're just going to give up 35 points to most Big 12 teams if they are playing well. And West Virginia absolutely was. Keaton Thomas, 12 total tackles, 8 solo, 1 sack, and a tackle for loss. Matt Jones, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, 5 solo tackles, and a pass breakup. Everybody give a massive shout out to Matt Jones and a late quarterback hurry there as well. My defensive player of the game, though, Lorando Johnson, 4 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, but 4 pass breakups of Baylor's 6 pass breakups total. Really, really played well. I don't think the pass interference calls, I think there were 2 or 3. The one that was called on him, I did not necessarily agree with. The others, fine. And then again, Corey Gordon with that massive interception to really seal the deal for Baylor there. The defensive line, got gashed at times, but made plays when it counted. Just really impressive for this defensive group as a whole, even when punches were thrown by that West Virginia offense, stepped up pretty well when it mattered. Again, that was 8 tackles for loss for this Baylor defense, 4 sacks. Pretty impressive. Pretty impressive. So, we are going to take a look at what this means. As I mentioned, Baylor now with 6 wins. That will send this team bowling. Dave Aranda from hot seat to bowl game, as we expected, hoped for, thought might be possible. Wherever you land on that spectrum, it is real now. Baylor is going bowling. We'll take a look at what that means, what lies ahead of this Baylor team here after our break. And then please call in, wait for a second. We want to get you on the air. We want to hear what you think. And all right.
Baylor fans, the ultimate game weekend experience awaits you at the Baylor Club. Kick off your weekend with our Friday Night Live pep rally. With live entertainment and special appearances from the Baylor Spirit Squad, it's the perfect way to start your game weekend with a roar. On Saturdays, don't miss our Knox Hall tailgate. Enjoy delicious food, ice-cold drinks, and great company as you gear up for the big game. And after the weekend's excitement, wrap it all up with our famous Bear brunches on Sundays. Don't wait. Make your game weekends legendary with the Baylor Club membership today.
Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, a wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trust. Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Make Camp Fimfo the destination for your next visit to Waco. Whether you're catching a football game, exploring the silos, or just looking to get away, Camp Fimfo Waco is conveniently located 6 miles from downtown Baylor University. Voted the #1 best vacation rental in Waco for the last 2 years, this camping resort features cabins and RV sites and is brimming with premium amenities like on-site dining, sports courts, a swimming pool, and more. Start making unforgettable memories and book your stay at Camp Fimfo Waco.
Edward Jones Financial Advisors Ben Erlinson, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott understand these are difficult and changing times we live in, but they know how important your financial investments are to you. So is your financial advisor staying in touch with you and helping you navigate today's financial climate? Invest with Edward Jones Financial Advisors Ben Erlinson, Chuck Verno, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott, who invest their time and experience back to you and your money. And like coaching athletes, investing money is about time, patience, and encouragement. Contact Ben Erlinson at 254-759-8533. Brad Wilson's location at 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, and Cam Heathcott in Conroe. Edward Jones Financial Advisors, Ben Erlinson, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott, proud sponsors of 365 Sports. Edward Jones, making sense of investing, member SIPC.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit Marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
This is the Sikkim 365 postgame show. Now here's David Smoke.
Not David Smoke, Matt Wilson here filling in. Welcome back to the Sikkim 365 postgame show. Baylor gets the win in Morgantown for the first time, 49-35. Welcome back. I left off a couple of important individuals that need to be mentioned that contributed significantly to this win. Josh Cameron, 5 receptions for 101 yards and a score, and that score was a big one. You don't expect a man that big to move that way. Ashton Hawkins, 7 catches for 52 yards. Bryson Washington, as we mentioned, 5 receptions for 59 and a score. Monterey Baldwin back in the mix. 3 catches, 82 and a score. That long score 40 was very impressive. Michael Trigg, 3 for 21. 8 different receivers. Am I seeing that correctly? 8 different receivers. 7 different receivers last week. Sawyer Robertson really spreading the ball around. We love to see it. So, the Baylor Bears, 6 wins, going bowling. After Dave Aranda starts the season as what many would consider to be the most likely coach to be let go at the end of the season, this Baylor team has absolutely come together and truly, truly reshaped the, I think, Baylor fan base's expectations and view of this program and the national view of this program in the short term for sure. A funny tweet here from Baylor grad and CBS Journalist Shehan Jayaraja, the broadcast just showed a picture of a mountain staircase in Hawaii that Dave Aranda showed his Baylor team to show what the journey looks like, adding insult to injury, taking Trust the Climb away from Neil Brown. A lot of people feel like Dave Aranda's leadership style is too different to be successful, and certainly there have been low points, but the way that this team has responded is nothing short of remarkable. A tweet from our own David Smoke here. This turnaround by Dave Aranda and Baylor is remarkable. Stuck in the mud for 2 full years after a terrible collapse to close out 22, abysmal 3-9 in 23, started 2-4, and now on a 4-game win streak and bowl eligible. He mentions the switching of a couple of linemen around by Coach Miller, Bryson Washington getting healthy, and Sawyer Robertson stepping in when there was an injury to Daquan Finn there and really making most of the opportunity, to say the least. All right, so with Baylor being bowl eligible and getting these various monkeys off the back, winning conference games at home, winning consecutive conference games, and now putting a full-blown win streak together, that leaves a few more games on the schedule for these Bears. Houston, next week in Houston. This Houston team had been playing very, very well. Kind of put up a stinker last night against Arizona in Arizona. And then Baylor returns home for the regular season finale. We have to say regular season finale now because this team, like I said, going bowling. It's kind of a, maybe not unexpected, but familiar and refreshing feeling for that regular season finale versus Kansas on the 30th. And now the fan base has to start tracking bowl games. So it's a very refreshing thing to think about. The unofficial rumor that had been going around Baylor fan circles was that it was bowl or bust for this coaching staff. Mission accomplished there. Mission accomplished there. All right. I don't know if we have any callers lined up at the moment, but I do want to read some of these comments. Welcome back, Matt is Bear, says R. Webb. How are we feeling about Sawyer versus Finn now? Hey, I've always been a Sawyer Robertson fan. I will admit, going into that Utah game, I thought Daquan Finn was the guy. Coming out of the Utah game, I thought Daquan Finn absolutely deserved more chances. I don't fault him at all. I don't think there's anything wrong with Sawyer Robertson stepping in and playing well. This is a system that he is relatively familiar with. There was a leg up there. Daquan Finn obviously is a very talented football player. Nothing against him. I hope that he gets to contribute to this team at some point. It is what it is. If there's an opportunity there for Sawyer to take and make the most of, he gets the opportunity to do so, and he absolutely did that. So there's really no Sawyer versus Finn for me. It's more of a whatever puts this team in the best position to win. And right now, it's clearly Sawyer Robertson. There's absolutely zero reason to move away. Can we get a refund on the Finn NIL? We shouldn't be negative like that, right? You bring in Daquan Finn. You create a competition with Sawyer Robertson. The iron sharpens iron mentality. You always want the best talent on the roster. No refund needed. No refund needed. All right. Very, very impressed with this turnaround. They didn't want us to win, but the Bears conquered. Yeah, if you're referring to the referees as they there, maybe some questionable calls. But I overall, I thought the game was refereed pretty fairly. I don't really have any strong complaints. A couple of the pass interferences called on Baylor's defense were not my favorite calls. But it all came down to playmakers making plays, and the better team won. I really did think that this Baylor team, if they did what they needed to do, they did not beat themselves, that it should be a convincing win in Morgantown, as strange as it is to say. But this team, the players on this team were not around for the days of 10 years ago when it was kind of a voodoo-ridden stadium, right? This Baylor team couldn't get over the hump. But this is a brand new group of guys in comparison. They didn't have that baggage to carry, and it showed tonight. Aranda definitely made adjustments at halftime from Chuck Morton. I completely agree. The contain on Garrett Green seemed to be a lot more intentional and a lot more effective. So this has always been a team that seems to play better, or at least have a better strategy in the second half. A lot of parallels with our basketball program in that regard, but very, very impressive from a strategic standpoint. Again, a massive hat tip to Jake Spavital. In the return to his former employer, could be a lot of distraction there potentially. This game was schemed up perfectly on the offensive side of the ball. Again, 199 yards after the catch shows that Coach Spav knew where to attack and how to attack, and it was effective from the jump. It was effective. Not sure if we have any callers on the line, but would love to take some. Who do we have on the line?
Scotty B.
Scotty, thanks for calling in, man. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm just so relieved for a win here, and I did not expect a blowout by any sense of imagination. I would have thought one-score game either way. But ultimately,
can I stop you there real quick? Before I want to hear the rest of your thought, but I think relief might be the perfect word, the perfect emotion. I think that's perfect. I'm excited. I feel good as a fan. I am very excited and happy, but relief might be either the underlying or overall strongest emotion there. Please continue.
I just would have thought this game would be like a one-score game either way. It was nip and tuck. But that interception by Corey Gordon was critical at that point in the game.
It was.
And then just separate themselves with the game-winning ceiling touchdown by Dawson Pendergrass.
A man's drive, if you will. Scotty,
Yes.
Can I ask you a question? I need some personal reflection, and I want to make sure I'm not crazy here. I think this secondary played pretty well. Yes, there were some mistakes, but overall, I think the secondary played pretty well.
Yeah, they did enough to slow them down. It's more like the run at first. Then they slowed them down in the second half, which was necessary against a team that likes to run.
West Virginia scored 7 in the first quarter, 21 in the second, did not score in the third, and only those last 7 points when the game was pretty much over in the fourth. This defense played really, really well. Scott, anything else?
I want to just give a shout out to this team for not quitting when they were 2-4. And they just trusted the climb, unlike West Virginia in this game right here. Sorry.
Very true. Get him, Scotty. Scotty, thank you so much for calling. I completely agree. This team had ample opportunity to get down on itself, throw away the season, start planning their transfer, moves, as they fully have the right to do. But they didn't. They committed to this season. They understood that they were close because they were. That Utah game was a lot closer than most people remember it as. Of course, that Colorado game was extremely close. And it just shows the character of the program. It shows the character of the players. And it shows the character of the coaching staff. Really, truly great call. Thank you, Scotty. Anybody else? Do we have anybody else on the line? Let's see if we can get another caller.
Yeah,
and
we got Brian on the line.
Brian. Thanks for calling in.
We got some echo going on.
Hey, Mattis Bear, can you hear me?
I can.
All right. Thanks for taking my call. After the BYU game, I called in and I was really dejected, and I thought this was going to be like last year. And then Colt and Grayson did an interview with Garrison Grimes right around the Iowa State game. And he talked about how when his dad was fired, he was going to transfer to Kansas. But then after praying about it and talking with his pastor, he said, no, I feel like the Lord's called me to stay here. And I was just like, wow, that's a lot of faith in a strong relationship with God. And I wrote the coach, I emailed him, and I was like, look, Coach Rand, I was like, you have some special players. If they don't give up, I feel this team can do something special. And I'm not like a prophet or anything, but it was just like, when you have people with that kind of attitude on your team, you can go far and not give up, even when things look really bad. Anyway, so it's just really nice to see this team turning around.
It is not. I think nice is a great. If Walker, if we can cut that call. So thank you so much for calling in, Brian. So it is a nice feeling because the reason why Dave Aranda, I think, has gathered as much goodwill as he has, not only within the program but with fans, right, is because we like him. We think he's a good person. He has a unique way of approaching this job and this career, but it's an earnest one, and he's been pretty candid with us about his approach. And seeing this work was what I wanted personally, and it is nice to see this work again. You get some of the organizational things taken care of off the field, right? You get the NIL situation in a better place. You get into the conversation for more players. You start creating momentum in the off season, and then on the field, you start creating competition. And the momentum took a while to get going. Yes, Utah was a little deflating, not unexpected, but a little deflating. Colorado was deflating. BYU was deflating, but this team showed up every week, right? It is very nice. I think that's a great way to say it. Again, Baylor wins 49-35 to get to 6 wins and postseason plans, extra practices, a bowl game, and that experience for this team, I think will be very, very important. I think we have time for one more call if we have one.
I got none for you. I got none for you right now.
No worries at all. In that case, go crack yet another cold Dr. Pepper. Go enjoy this win. Wear some Baylor gear if you're going out to the grocery store tomorrow. You may not live in a place with a lot of West Virginia fans, but it's time to be proud of this program. I certainly am. Thank you, everybody. Sick 'em Bears. We'll talk next week.